25 years ago, I made a choice that saved a man's family from the streets. Last Tuesday, his son threatened to destroy my career, and he had no idea who he was talking to. Look, I've been on this bench in Providence for 3 decades. I've seen arrogance, I've seen entitlement. I've watched rich kids walk through those doors thinking daddy's money can erase their mistakes. But what happened with Brandon Ashford? That was different. Because the weapon he tried to use against me, I gave his family that weapon, and he didn't know it. Before I tell you how this went down, drop a comment right now. Just type "ready" if you've ever dealt with someone who thought they were untouchable. Because what you're about to hear will show you what happens when privilege meets the one person it can't intimidate. Hit subscribe. You're going to want to remember this one. So it's Tuesday morning, normal day. I'm looking at a stack of violations, traffic stuff, petty citations, the kind of cases I handle 50 times a week. Then I see the name, Brandon Ashford, parking violation, handicapped space, Providence Children's Hospital. I'm thinking, okay, maybe he didn't see the sign. Maybe it's a mistake. People make mistakes. Then he walks in, and I feel it before I even see his face. You know that energy? When someone enters a room and the air just shifts, like they're silently announcing they don't belong here with the rest of us? That's Brandon. $200 haircut, suit that costs more than my car, platinum watch flashing under the lights like a warning signal, and his face. God, his face, like he's doing me a favor by showing up. He doesn't sit. Just stands there, scrolling his phone. Doesn't look at me. Doesn't acknowledge the other people waiting. Just scrolls. I look up. Mr. Ashford, you're here for a parking violation. Handicapped space. Children's Hospital. How do you plead? He doesn't even glance at me. Still on his phone. Not guilty. That sign wasn't clear. And I was only there a couple hours. No big deal. No big deal. I look down at the report. 4 hours. Not 2. Clear signage. Multiple signs, actually. Security footage showing him reading the sign and parking there anyway. And here's the part that makes my blood simmer. A 6-year-old kid in a wheelchair couldn't make her appointment. Because Brandon's Lamborghini, yeah, a Lamborghini, was blocking the accessible ramp. I take a breath. Mr. Ashford, the evidence is pretty clear here. Photos show the signage. A child missed her medical appointment because you blocked access. This isn't a gray area. That's when he finally looks at me. And what I see in his eyes? It's not regret. It's not embarrassment. It's annoyance. Like I'm wasting his time. Judge, he says, and there's this edge in his voice. I don't think you understand who you're dealing with. Here we go. My father is Anthony Ashford, Ashford Technologies. We employ 3,000 people in this state. My family pays more in taxes than you'll see in your lifetime. So maybe, let's just make this easy for both of us. The room goes dead silent. I've been threatened before. I've been yelled at. I've had people cry, beg, curse me out. But this casual arrogance, this assumption that money erases accountability, it's rare, and it's dangerous. Because Brandon actually believes what he's saying. I take off my glasses, slowly, set them on the bench. Anyone who knows my courtroom knows what that means. Mr. Ashford, I say quietly, your father's business has nothing to do with this case. He leans forward, smirks. Look, Judge, I'm trying to be reasonable. But if you push this, it's going to become a problem. My father knows the mayor, the governor, the people who fund your courtroom. I'd hate for your job to get complicated. He actually said that, out loud, in front of witnesses. And for just a second, one brief electric second, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Not anger, recognition. Because looking at Brandon's face, I see someone else. Same jawline, same dark eyes, Same features, but 25 years younger, and filled with something that man never had. Entitlement. "Mr. Ashford," I say slowly, "did you say your father's name is Anthony Ashford?" Brandon straightens up, proud. "That's right. Anthony Ashford, CEO. Maybe you've heard of him." "Oh, I've heard of him." I stand up, walk around the bench, come down to his level. When I do this, people know something big is coming. "Brandon," I say, "I need to tell you a story about your father, a story he apparently never shared with you." His smirk falters, just a little. 25 years ago, your father walked into my office. Not this courtroom, my law office. Back then, I practiced family law. Brandon's face shifts, confusion creeping in. He wasn't a CEO, he wasn't successful. He was a construction worker who'd just been laid off. He had a pregnant wife, bills piling up. And 3 days until eviction. The room is so quiet you could hear a heartbeat. He came to me because he'd been screwed over by his employer. Wrongful termination, $7,000 in unpaid wages, money his family desperately needed just to survive. Brandon's expression is changing now. The arrogance is cracking. He couldn't afford a lawyer, but he sat in my office and I saw something in him. Desperation, yes, but also integrity. A man fighting for his family, not for himself. I take a step closer. So I took his case. Pro bono, free. Fought for 6 months against a company with expensive lawyers who thought they could crush him. Brandon's lips part. He tries to speak. Nothing comes out. "When we won that case," I continue, "your father broke down in my office, hugged me, told me I saved his family, and he made me a promise." I pause. Let it sink in. He said, "If I ever make something of myself, my son will know what real integrity looks like." Brandon's legs buckle. He grabs the table for support. "That $7,000? That's what started his company. The company that became Ashford Technologies. The empire that bought your Lamborghini. The success you're so proud of." I move closer. "Brandon, looks like he might collapse. Everything you have, the cars, the clothes, the attitude, exists because I showed your father compassion when he had nothing." My voice drops, cold, clear. "So, when you stand in my courtroom and threaten to have me fired, you're threatening the man who made your father's success possible, the man who kept your family off the streets before you were even born." Brandon's hands are shaking. His voice cracks. He never told me." "No," I say. "He didn't, and looking at you now, I'm wondering if he failed to keep his promise." Brandon collapses into the chair. The arrogance is gone, completely shattered. "I'm calling your father," I tell him. "Not to punish you, but because he needs to know what kind of man his son became." I dial, put it on speaker. Anthony Ashford answers on the second ring. "Tony, it's Frank Caprio. Your son's in my courtroom, and I think you need to hear what just happened." I explain everything. The parking violation, the threats, the arrogance, the dismissal of a disabled child's needs. The silence on the other end is suffocating. Then I hear it. A sound I'll never forget. Anthony Ashford, crying. "Frank," he whispers. "I am so sorry." His voice breaks. "You saved my family. You're the reason my son has anything. And he threatened you?" Brandon is sobbing now, openly, in front of everyone. "Brandon," Anthony says, voice shaking, "you just disrespected the most important man in our family's history. Judge Caprio is the reason you exist in comfort, the reason you had food, shelter, opportunity, and you threatened him." The courtroom is drowning in silence and tears. "Frank," Anthony continues, "whatever you think is right, I support it. My son needs to learn what I clearly failed to teach him." I sentenced Brandon that day. $500 fine, 100 hours of community service, assisting disabled individuals with transportation. And every Saturday for 6 months, he'd volunteer at the same children's hospital where he blocked that little girl. But here's what you need to understand. The sentence? That was just paperwork. The real punishment was watching Brandon's entire worldview shatter in front of strangers. 3 months later, he came back, not as a defendant, as a volunteer giving me an update. The arrogant kid who threatened me, gone. In his place, a young man who finally understood what privilege actually means. He told me about Sarah, 12 years old, cerebral palsy. He drives her to therapy twice a week now. That parking space he blocked with his Lamborghini? Now it's where he parks a wheelchair-accessible van he bought with his own money. His father came with him. And for the first time in 25 years, Anthony and I shook hands again. Not as desperate client and lawyer, but as two men who understand that real success isn't about wealth. It's about character. Brandon wrote a letter to the little girl whose appointment he ruined. A letter about accountability, about understanding consequences. I keep that letter in my desk. And every time some entitled defendant walks through my door thinking money equals immunity, I think about Brandon Ashford, the kid who thought he could threaten a judge, and learned the hardest way possible that some debts can never be paid back, only paid forward. If this story hit you, if you've ever felt invisible to someone who thought they were better than you, drop a comment. Tell me about it. Because this channel, it's about real justice, the kind that changes people, not just punishes them. Hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the person you're dismissing today might be the reason you're standing tomorrow. Stay humble, stay grateful, and I'll see you in the next one.